Welcome to Cars and Aircraft Explained. The car we're looking at today, the LaFerrari, is without a doubt one of the most ambitious projects Ferrari has ever taken on. This was their definitive statement for a new era in the automotive world, an era where raw power just wasn't enough anymore. Performance was now all about how intelligently you could deliver that power.
And that brings us to the fundamental question Ferrari was facing. How do you actually move forward? How do you embrace radical new technology, but still build a car that feels, sounds, and drives like one of the legends that came before it? Well, that's the whole story behind the LaFerrari. Okay, so let's get into this. By the early 2010s, Ferrari had pretty much perfected the naturally aspirated V12 engine. I mean, it was their signature. But the car world was changing, and it was changing fast. Simply building a bigger, more powerful engine just wasn't going to cut it for their next flagship. So Ferrari basically set itself this massive challenge. They needed to bring in hybrid technology, not for fuel economy, but for a huge jump in performance. At the same time, they had to cut emissions, all while making sure this new car was, deep down, a true Ferrari, with racing in its blood. The car that came out of this mission was so important, so definitive, they just called it LaFerrari, which literally means the Ferrari. And that brings us to the very heart of this machine. The LaFerrari's solution was a hybrid system completely different from anything you'd find in a road car back then. Its purpose wasn't to save a few drops of fuel. It was designed for one thing and one thing only: absolute, uncompromising performance. The powertrain is just a work of art. At its center, you have this incredible 6.3-liter naturally aspirated V12. You know, the kind of engine that made Ferrari famous. But it's paired with an electric motor that was developed directly from their Formula One program. And when you put those two power sources together, you get this. Just a staggering number, 950 horsepower. That's a colossal figure that immediately put the LaFerrari right at the very top of the automotive food chain. Now, what's really key to understand here is that this is not your typical hybrid. The electric motor can't drive the car by itself, it doesn't run silently, and it couldn't care less about fuel economy. Its only job is to be the perfect partner to that V12 engine. It fills in what they call torque gaps, those tiny hesitations you get as a big engine builds res, and it makes the throttle response insanely sharp. It creates this instant, almost telepathic connection between your foot and the engine. The tech that makes this possible is called hypercars, and it's a direct descendant of the system used in Formula One. Think about it. The car captures energy when you brake, not to be efficient, but to store it up and unleash it for a savage burst of acceleration. For the driver, this feels like a relentless, never-ending surge of power. It's pure racing technology on the road, all designed for an emotional gut punch of an experience. You know, with all this advanced tech, there was a huge risk of losing that raw, emotional character that makes a Ferrari a Ferrari. But the engineers in Maranello were absolutely determined that was not going to happen. They made absolutely sure that the V12 engine was still the undisputed star of the show. It's loud, it's emotional, and it screams all the way to an incredible 9,250 RPM. The electric motor is just the perfect supporting actor, working behind the scenes to make the V12's performance even more spectacular. The result is that every time you touch the accelerator, you get this seamless, overwhelming wave of power, all set to that iconic Ferrari soundtrack. So you've got nearly 1,000 horsepower on tap. The next big problem is, how do you get all that power to the ground and keep the car from taking off at high speeds? Well, that's where intelligent aerodynamics come into play. The LaFerrari is constantly changing its own shape to slice through the air. It's got active flaps and spoilers on the front and the back that are always adjusting automatically depending on how fast you're going and what you're doing. The whole system is working in milliseconds to either give you maximum grip in the corners or minimum drag for those insane top speeds. And the results of blending all this raw power with intelligent tech are just breathtaking. 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in under 3 seconds, 0 to 200 in under 7, and a top speed of over 350 kilometers per hour. But here's the crucial thing. The car made this unbelievable performance feel accessible, even controlled. Of course, the LaFerrari didn't just appear out of nowhere. It was born into one of the most exciting moments in car history, right alongside two other game-changing hybrid hypercars. Together, they formed what everyone now calls the Holy Trinity. Its rivals were the McLaren P1 and the Porsche 918 Spider, and each one took a really different approach. You had the McLaren, which was this wild, aggressive track weapon. The Porsche was the super complex all-wheel drive technical marvel, but the LaFerrari was the passionate one. It was the emotional, explosive celebration of the V12, just cranked up to 11 with hybrid power. So, what's the lasting impact of the LaFerrari? Well, it was way more than just a cool, limited edition car. It was basically a rolling blueprint for the future of the entire Ferrari brand. You can see that evolution laid out perfectly right here. There's a direct line you can draw from the LaFerrari in 2013 to the cars Ferrari is building today. It proved like a performance hybrid could work, and it paved the way for the plug-in hybrid SF90 Stradale. Now, hybrid systems are just a core part of what Ferrari does. It literally changed the company's direction forever. And that is probably the best way to think about this car. It is Ferrari's incredible vision of the future, a technological masterpiece that looked forward without ever forgetting the sound, the passion, and the soul that defined its past. It answered that first question we asked perfectly. This is how a legend evolves.